Today is our final lesson of fractions, and we are going to be learning how to divide a proper fraction by an integer. So for those of you who have loved fractions, I'm sorry it's come to an end, but those of you who have found them a bit tricksy, do not worry, this is your final lesson. We won't be doing any more fractions in normal maths lesson time. However, we cannot forget them. We will still be doing them in mental maths when you come back to school, just to keep our brains ticking over and to practice all the things that we've learned across these 2 units so far. Anyway, let's get on with today's lesson. This question that I've asked you a million times: what is a fraction? A fraction represents part of a whole. But what about an integer? An integer is a whole number. And the reason we need to know what both are is because today we are dividing fractions by integers. So we're going to begin with dividing fractions when the divisor is a multiple of the numerator. This question is asking us to work out 2/5 divided by 2 because Dexter has 2/5 of a chocolate bar and he's sharing it with his friend. We need to work out what fraction of the chocolate bar they each get. And this is pretty simple. 2/5 is represented on the bar chart here, and when it's split into 2 equal parts, we have 1/5. So they each get 1/5, and you'll notice that I put a little cross to represent 2/5 divided by 2. Let's have a go at a few more questions. We're going to use these diagrams to help us calculate 3/4 divided by 3, 4/7 divided by 4, and 4/7 divided by 2. So when we break up 3/4 into 3 equal parts, when we divide it by 3, we get 1/4. When we divide 4/7 divided by 4, we get 1/7. And when we divide 4/7 by 2, we get 2/7. What have you noticed in these questions? When the divisor is a multiple of the numerator, we divide the numerator and keep the denominator the same. Right, I'd like you to have a go yourself. So, in all of these questions, the divisor, so the thing that you're dividing by, is a multiple of the numerator. So when you're dividing, you only need to divide the numerator by the divisor. Pause the video now and have a go yourself. And here are all of the answers. Now, I'm not going to bother to read all of these out because I would be here for hours, so you might want to pause the video now so that you can check your answers against what is on the screen. What you may have noticed is that the final fraction is actually a mixed number. It is 1 and 1/11. So what you needed to do here was convert it into a proper fraction, which is 12/11, which you can then divide by 3. 12/11 divided by 3 equals 4/11. Right, let's do a think and challenge ourselves. So for this question, we need to use the inverse. And I've already done the first one for you, so in a moment I want you to have a go at the rest. But let's have a look at this first one. So this first question is asking us, what do we divide 15/16 by to get 5/16? And what you need to do is multiply 5 by 3. And that's because 5 times 3 equals 15. Therefore, 15/16 divided by 3 equals 5/16. Pause the video now and try and have a go at these yourself. And here are the answers. So 15/16 divided by 5 equals 3/16 because 3 times 5 equals 15. 20/23 divided by 5 equals 4/23 because 4 times 5 equals 20. 20/23 divided by 4 equals 5/23 because 5 times 4 equals 20. Remember, when we divide fractions, we are only dividing the numerator. The denominator stays exactly the same. Now we've had a look at dividing fractions when the divisor is a multiple of the numerator, we're going to look at dividing fractions when the divisor is not a multiple of the numerator. So basically the divisor can't fit into the numerator into equal parts. Right, Mo is dividing 1/3 by 2, and he's used bar charts to help him. He has divided 1/3 into 2 equal parts, and he says that each part is worth 1/6. Therefore, 1/3 divided by 2 equals 1/6. And you can see these in the bar charts on the side of the screen. Essentially, what Mo does here is he multiplies the denominator by the divisor. So 1/3 divided by 2 is kind of like multiplying the third part by 2 to get 1/6. Have a go at using Mo's method to work out the fractions at the bottom of the screen. So 1/3 divided by 3, 2/3 divided by 3, 1/5 divided by 3, and 2/5 divided by 3. Remember the trick. You multiply the denominator by the divisor. Now, Mo's method used a technique where he multiplied the denominator by the divisor to get his answer. We're going to look at another way of dividing when the divisor is not a multiple of the numerator, and Annie is doing something different here. So Annie divides 2/3 by 4. The numerator isn't a multiple of the integer I'm dividing by, or the divisor, so she finds an equivalent fraction to help her divide the numerator equally. She knows that 2/3 is equivalent to 4/6, and 4/6 divided by 4 equals 1/6. She uses her knowledge of equivalent fractions so that the divisor is a multiple of the numerator. Therefore, she can divide easily. I would like you to pause the video and try and have a go using Annie's method. So, you are going to need to find equivalent fractions to calculate 3/5 divided by 2, 1/3 divided by 3, and 2/3 divided by 3. So you need to find an equivalent fraction for 3/5, an equivalent fraction for 1/3, an equivalent fraction for 2/3. Pause the video now and have a go at these questions yourself. Now we've had a go at some do's, let's have a think about thinks. So similarly to the think question before, we need to use the inverse in this question because we're trying to find the missing gaps. And the first one has been done for you, so we're going to have a little chat about that first before you have a go on your own. Here we've got a missing fraction and we're dividing it by 4 to get 7/36. Now we know that our fraction needs to be 7/9 because 4 times 9 equals 36. Here we're using Mo's method where we multiply the denominator to divide. So can you see that the numerator, 7, stays the same and 9 is multiplied by 4 to get 36. I would like you to have a go at the following two questions yourself. If you'll notice that question number 2, the numerator stays the same. So what do you think we're going to fill the gap with to make 20 into 80? The final question then has 2 gaps, so that means that there's going to be lots of different possibilities. So pause the video now and then we'll go through the answers on the following slide. Here the answer is also 4. 3/20 divided by 4 equals 3/80. Because 4 times 20 equals 80, here we've used Mo's method again where we multiply the denominator to divide. Now the reason we can use multiplication is because when we are dividing fractions, we're breaking them up into smaller parts. And if you remember from some previous lesson, the bigger the denominator, the larger the denominator, the smaller the fraction is. So when we are dividing and changing something from 20ths into 80ths, we're actually making it smaller even though the digits look bigger. And as I mentioned before, for the final question, there are endless possibilities to this final question. So whatever you have written, hopefully you've got it right. If you do want it to be checked, why not take a photo of this and add it to your work when you submit it, and your teacher will be able to see whether you have worked out one of the possibilities correctly. Anyway, this is the end of your final fractions lesson, so you're going to need to pause the video here. This lesson is going to go across 2 days, so please make sure that you do the do's today, and then tomorrow I would like you to work on the thinks and the explores, and then you'll need to submit all of your work together so that your teacher can mark it for you and give you some feedback. Now, this is the final maths lesson that I have planned. So you're going to have Mrs. Rains doing your maths videos from now on, and you'll have me over in English. So I will say goodbye for now, but I'll see you in English, or rather, you'll hear me in English in a few days' time. Anyway, good luck with all this work, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye!